He lied about a dollar stock, made millions, and only served 22 months. Then Hollywood turned his crimes into a blockbuster. This is Jordan Belfort, the man who scammed America and got rich again doing it. And the wildest part? People still cheer for him. Most kids selling lemonade dream small. Jordan Belfort was different. By 16, he'd made 20 grand selling Italian ices in Queens. While other teens blew their cash on cars, Jordan enrolled in dental school. First day, the dean stands up. "If you're here to get rich, you're in the wrong profession." Jordan stood up, nodded, and walked out. He wasn't there to clean teeth. He was there to get rich. And this wasn't the path. So he tried meat instead. After college, Jordan launched a door-to-door meat and seafood business. Flash frozen steaks, premium salmon, cheaper than your butcher. It was messy, scrappy, and surprisingly successful. $100,000 a month in sales. No trucks, no storage, just hustle. But late deliveries piled up, meat spoiled, invoices went unpaid. Within months, it collapsed. But in the wreckage, Jordan found his superpower. The product didn't matter, steaks, surfboards, stocks. He could sell anything. And just like that, the salesman was born. Jordan didn't need a better product, he needed a better payout. Enter Wall Street. He landed an entry-level job at LF Rothschild's. Suits, quotas, cocaine in the bathroom stalls. It was the 80s after all. He learned how the markets moved, how brokers talked, how they sold. Then came Black Monday, October 1987. The market crashed. Jordan was fired, but while others mourned, Jordan saw opportunity. He discovered penny stocks, pink sheet garbage, unregulated, illiquid. But here's the magic. 50% commissions. Same pitch, 10 times the reward. Jordan picked up the phone. This company is tiny now, but it's sitting on technology that's going to disrupt the entire industry. Ground floor opportunity, pre-IPO, completely under Wall Street's radar. You get in now at $1 a share, and in 6 months you're calling me from your beach house in Maui. $4,000. One call, no rules, no regulators, no breaks. He'd found his kingdom. By 1989, Jordan wasn't working alone anymore. Enter Danny Porish, fast-talking, hard-drinking Long Island misfit with the charm of a salesman and the instincts of a hustler. He wasn't from Wall Street. Some days it didn't feel like he was from the same planet, but he could close. Jordan had the vision. Danny brought the chaos. Together they built Stratton Oakmont. The name sounded prestigious, like leather-bound books and century-old pedigree. In reality, a strip mall boiler room with flickering lights and zero oversight. The recruits weren't analysts, they were bartenders, college dropouts, neighborhood hustlers. Jordan didn't want experience, he wanted hunger. He developed a method called straight-line persuasion, a psychological pressure cooker designed to bulldoze hesitation and guide a prospect from hello to where do I send the check in one unbroken line. Soon the office took on a rhythm. Fast, loud, addictive. Phones never stopped ringing, orders never stopped flowing, and the money kept pouring in. But Stratton's genius wasn't just in how it sold, it was in who it sold to. Working-class retirees, desperate parents, people Wall Street ignored. Stratton sold them hope wrapped in urgency, dressed in false certainty, backed by made-up projections. At first, it was obscure penny stocks, companies that barely existed outside their own press releases. But once the money started flowing, the schemes evolved. They'd buy massive blocks of cheap shares, then turn the sales floor into a hype machine. Call after call, promise after promise. They flooded the market with manufactured excitement, spiked the stock, then dumped everything at the top. Thousands of investors were left holding the bag. It was called a pump and dump. And at Stratton Oakmont, it was called Another Tuesday. By the early 90s, Stratton had exploded. The office became a carnival, screaming phones, air horns, $2,000 suits, and enough narcotics to kill a rhinoceros. Jordan built a system where fear and loyalty were currency. Top performers got bonuses, vacations, watches tossed across the room like candy. Underperformers were humiliated, cut loose, replaced in hours. Then came the parties. Strippers in the conference room, champagne overflowing into fax machines, lines of coke snorted off compliance manuals. Nothing was sacred. Jordan had become a cult leader in Armani. He bought a helicopter, named his yacht after his wife, owned mansions, Lamborghinis, Rolexes, and through it all, he preached the same sermon. Success is everything. If you're not winning, you're nothing. On paper, Stratton was thriving, but underneath, it was all smoke and mirrors. By 1994, Stratton was on fire, taking companies public, moving millions, pulling in national attention. But beneath the success, the structure was rotting. The SEC had flagged suspicious filings. Complaints piled up from investors who bought in at $7 and watched it crash to 30 cents. Internally, brokers started asking questions. They were pushing stocks with no revenue, no product, sometimes no working phone number. Management's answer? Close the deal or get out. And while the firm grew, so did the complexity of hiding the money. Millions funneled offshore through shell companies, accounts under Jordan's aunt's name in the UK. Others parked in Geneva under companies that didn't exist. At one point, Jordan moved funds using couriers, including a housekeeper smuggling cash-stuffed envelopes sewn into her bra. Jordan called it asset protection. The FBI called it laundering. Inside the firm, things were changing. Drug use, once a reward, became a necessity. Quaaludes slowed their speech. Cocaine sped them back up. People passed out during calls. One broker had a seizure on the sales floor. And Jordan was unraveling faster than the firm. His marriage was disintegrating. Pills in the couch cushions, syringes in the bathroom. He once crashed his Ferrari into a pillar while high on Quaaludes. His 3-year-old daughter was in the passenger seat. Then came the yacht incident. June 1996. Against the captain's warning, Jordan insisted they sail from Italy to Sardinia during a storm. He was drunk, high, convinced nothing could touch him. The yacht began taking on water in the middle of the Mediterranean. On board, Jordan, his wife, their daughter, and over $2 million in jewelry and narcotics. They had to be rescued by the Italian Navy. The yacht was destroyed. Jordan survived, but something inside him didn't. Back in New York, the walls were closing in. Journalists from Forbes and the Wall Street Journal were poking around. Former employees were talking, but most dangerous of all was Gregory Coleman, an FBI agent with the Financial Crimes Division. Coleman didn't just see red flags, he smelled blood. He pulled Stratton's cold call scripts, subpoenaed wire records, tracked real estate purchases that didn't match reported income. He found Jordan withdrawing $50,000 at a time in cashier's checks, laundered through casinos and art galleries. Coleman knew what it meant. So did Jordan, eventually. What Jordan didn't know was that some of his own brokers had flipped. One had been caught on a separate fraud charge. Another was burned by an unpaid bonus. They wore wires, recorded calls, turned over folders. As the heat rose, more jumped ship. Not out of morality, but of self-preservation. Then came October 1996. Federal agents raided Stratton Oakmont. They arrived just after sunrise. Phones ripped from desks, filing cabinets emptied, hard drives copied. Someone tried to flush documents. Another tried to walk out with a briefcase full of shredded contracts. It didn't matter. The FBI had what it needed. But Jordan still wasn't done. In early 1997, while under investigation and explicitly told not to move funds, he wired $2 million to Switzerland. The transaction was traced. The conversation about it had been recorded. That single transfer became the thread that unraveled everything. The chase was over. By late 1998, Belfort was out of moves. The FBI had the recordings, the SEC had the filings, The empire he built on cold calls and false promises had collapsed. He was facing up to 30 years in federal prison, wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering. So Jordan did what he always did. He sold, not stocks, information. He flipped, he cooperated, he wore a wire. And one by one, the people who once worshipped him were handed over like receipts. Over 30 employees were indicted. Brokers, partners, friends. Some had joined Stratton right out of high school. They learned how to sell from Jordan. They followed his playbook. Now they were paying for it. Some served more time than he did. Jordan got 22 months in a minimum security facility. No fences, no cells. The guards didn't even carry guns. He played tennis in the mornings, lifted weights in the afternoons, and at night he wrote. That's where he met Tommy Chong, the comedian from Cheech and Chong serving time for selling bongs online. Jordan told him the whole story, the drugs, the yacht, the envelopes of cash, the lie that became a lifestyle. Tommy wasn't outraged, he was amused. Write it down, he said. So Jordan did. In 2007, he published The Wolf of Wall Street, a memoir that read more like a victory lap than a confession. No apologies, no remorse, just yachts, orgies, fraud, and punchlines. The public ate it up. He sold the film rights, wrote a sequel, and in 2013, Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio turned it into a global blockbuster. The same man who lied to investors was now entertaining them on the big screen. Audiences laughed, critics applauded, and Jordan Belfort, convicted felon, became a pop culture icon. But the people he scammed didn't get movie deals. They didn't get closure. Most never got their money back. A teacher who lost her retirement, a war veteran who invested his life savings, a family who remortgaged their home for the next big thing. They were left with debt, with nothing. The court ordered Jordan to pay $110 million in restitution. To this day, only a fraction has been paid. The rest vanished into offshore accounts, real estate trusts, legal loopholes. He claims he's working on it, but the victims are still waiting. And Jordan, he's doing just fine. He's a motivational speaker now, sales coach, podcast host. He sells success, teaches ethics, books stages around the world. He wears the name The Wolf like it's a badge of honor. Not the scar it should be. He didn't just escape justice. He sold it. Turned 22 months into a book deal. Turned fraud into fame. And maybe the scariest part? We applauded. I was guilty of being greedy, he once said, but so is everybody else. Maybe that's why he got away with it. Because deep down, we never wanted him punished. We wanted to be him.